The single most important personal finance decision you make is your career. No one goes on a direct path, even though it sometimes feels like your peers might be racing ahead. Everyone's trying to figure it out. But if you just put yourself out there, step out of your comfort zone, establish yourself in terms of skills, mentorship, but leave space for your passions, then you're going to turn out pretty well. As my kids grow up, I think a lot about the lessons and values I want to impart to them. More than any particular skill or even financial support, I believe perseverance and resilience will serve them best, regardless of what curveball life inevitably throws them. A one-size-fits-all lecture is not the way to go about education. The ancient universities was not as based on how many credit hours you're taking and whether you've completed your credit hours. The ancient universities were much more interested in customized, personalized learning. Where you have a mentor and where you're learning at your own pace. The ideal direction is using something like Khan Academy for every student to work at their own pace, to master concepts before moving on, and then the teacher using Khan Academy as a tool so that you can have a room of 20 or 30 kids all working on different things, but you can still kind of administrate that chaos. To be clear, people are the most important part of any classroom. If given the choice between a great teacher and the world's most advanced education technology, I'd pick the teacher any day for my own children. As technology plays a major role inside and outside the classroom, we want to make sure education innovation is accessible. I am personally an idealist. I was lucky enough to follow my dreams in my own life, so you should definitely follow your dreams. I never viewed technology as a replacement for the human experience. I viewed it as something that could liberate the human experience. Education is not an end to itself. You need to know algebra but also how to navigate the world. We want to make access to a world-class education like clean drinking water or electricity. I am infamously bad at asking for money. Louisiana was as close to South Asia as the United States could get. It had spicy food, humidity, giant cockroaches, and a corrupt government. If a student has access to a great school, Khan Academy can supercharge it. It should help a well-resourced school, and if you don't have that, then Khan Academy can have even a bigger impact. But I don't see it as replacing the actual schools. We want to empower teachers and fill in the gaps. I do believe that education should become as close to free as possible. We don't believe that you should ever replace physical education. Even in 1,000 years, a computer will never be able to do so. Great people are attracted to great people and great visions. Our mission at Khan Academy is a free, world-class education for anyone, anywhere, and college readiness is a crucial part of that. We want to help as many students as possible prepare for college and for life, and since the SAT measures preparedness for college, our partnership with the College Board is a natural fit. The answer is pretty clear that your intelligence can actually be changed. The math you need for most of finance is 9th grade algebra, and most people feel reasonably comfortable with that. But I think the financial world there has been, I don't know if it's by design, or this is how it's evolved, there are bad actors who have wanted to obfuscate because you can benefit from the lack of transparency. What you have in most education software is that they're catering to the decision maker who makes the budget allocations, and that decision maker has a lot of checkboxes. Does it do this? Check. Does it do that? Check. They could care less about the end user experience. One's perception of themselves has a much bigger role than has been acknowledged to determine who succeeds and who does not. I'm the Dear Abby of math problems. But if you understand something, shouldn't you be able to explain it? Isn't that the whole point? I've already got a beautiful wife, a great son, and a house. What else do you need? Formal education must change. It needs to be brought into closer alignment with the world as it actually is, into closer harmony with the way human beings actually learn and thrive. Education should be a fundamental human right. The whole reason why we have this kind of assembly line model of education that we inherited from the Prussians, is they were the first people, it's a very egalitarian motive, to say how do we educate everyone. Some of the beauty of a university is that every professor is given a lot of autonomy over what he or she does. That's also what makes it very hard for even a very forward-thinking president to change courses. Suffice it to say that our over-reliance on testing is based largely on habit, wishful thinking, and leaps of faith. Every school is different and serves different populations. I'm a fan of hard science fiction, which is science fiction that is possible. I'm actually a bit of a technophobe, which surprises people. I like to stay unplugged as much as possible. I'm not the kind to hang out on Facebook or Twitter or even talk on the cell phone, really. I was always asking people about their work. How do you do a job like that? Do you love it? What does it pay? I was lucky to have access to people who could answer my questions. Otherwise, my life could have turned out very differently. One of the biggest ways to level the playing field is to give all young people the same context on what opportunities are out there. And that means touching on some of the questions that are a little taboo in society. How much money do you make? What are your stresses? What would you do differently if you could? My personal narrative, I was lucky early on in my career to have some really strong mentors. I didn't realize it at the time, but that's what really built me up. In Idaho, we hope to see educators using Khan Academy to individualize their instruction. Instead of a one-size-fits-all lesson, teachers will be able to focus their attention on specific students who are struggling while the rest of the class engages with material appropriate for them. Creating a clear and engaging video explanation of a complex concept is a great way to demonstrate mastery and to help others understand and love the subject, too. It's an old idea. It's arguably the first way that people learn, that, hey, if you need to learn something, if you're having trouble with it, keep working on it until you master it and then you go to a more advanced concept. But in the education systems that all of us grew up in, we all learned at a fixed pace. A lot of times, when kids have problems with algebra or trigonometry, it has nothing to do with the subject matter, has nothing to do with their innate intelligence. It's just that they had some gaps in elementary school that they never got to fill in. I've learned that certain things are much harder than when you write about them in a book. I grew up with plenty of smart people. They would beat me at chess, they could solve brain teasers before I could, but then they would struggle in algebra. These were incredibly smart people who simply did not have the foundation in math that I had. I realized that there are many people who are very good students, but they think of themselves as bad students. At the end of the day, what they are really missing is a way to understand where their gaps are and a way to address those gaps. By early 2009, tens of thousands of students were watching tutorials on the Khan Academy every day. The software I wrote for my cousins had become so popular, it was making my $50 a month web host crash. The possibilities surrounding the academy were so exciting that I had trouble doing my day job properly. And soon, I quit. What I did by virtue of skipping a lot of classes was get 2 undergraduate degrees and a master's in 4 years. It wasn't slacking. There were much more productive ways of learning everything than sitting in lectures. Being a billionaire is sort of passe. When I used to try and describe what the Khan Academy was, I would tell people that if it were a for-profit, I would be on the cover of Forbes. Later in life, when my kids struggle to understand a tricky concept or master a new skill, I want them to have the strength and experience to tell themselves, I don't know how to do this yet. I want them to be confident that, even if something seems challenging today, they have what it takes to figure it out. All too often, technology is treated as a silver bullet for perceived problems in education. This sometimes leads to knee-jerk investments, using scarce resources to invest in software or hardware without a clear notion of how either might actually empower learning. If high-quality content can be effectively delivered via technology, teachers can devote more time to creating innovative experiences, leading Socratic dialogues, or coaching students one-on-one in more targeted and focused interventions. Teachers can use technology-based assessments to inform their instruction. These assessments can quickly produce data and surface patterns that help teachers identify where students are faltering and intervene with targeted coaching immediately, before the student falls too far behind. There is too much acceptance of people saying, "I am a math person," or "I am an artsy person." It makes me cringe. There are things you can get in that physical experience you cannot get virtually. Just as computer science is missing from our school system, so is science fiction. I love Victorian novels, the way they capture the nuances of the human condition. I learned from my peers, and I learned from doing projects, and I learned from mentors, but I learned very little from lectures, and I've talked about how little I attended them.